What's up guys, it's Meg, and today we're talking about the latest issue of The Walking Dead comics, issue number 147. This issue is called Out in the Open. It's the comic cover with Andrea, Carl, and Lydia walking through the field. So I've been eagerly anticipating this comic, so much so that when it was released today, I immediately drove out to get it and I read it before I got home. So I'm sorry I will not be reading it on camera today like I normally do. I'm just going to be giving my review. So maybe it'll be a little bit shorter. I really liked this issue. There wasn't a lot of action, but there was so much emotion in it, and I just want to get right into the review. First off though, I apologize for any background noise. It is going home time. You guys know going home time, and I live right on a busy street, so no matter where I go it's gonna be really loud, so I apologize for that. So as you know, issue 146 ended with Eugene coming to Rick and Andrea's house, suggesting that he had some sort of plan to use Lydia to get back at the Whisperers. Now, he seemed like he was with it together. He's a very smart guy, so I was anticipating some very well thought out plan coming from Eugene. I mean, he always has the best plans. I forgot that he's fueled by his anger and his sadness over Rosita and her unborn child. So, you know, when issue 146 ended, I was like, whoa, I wonder what his plan is. I can't wait. And he seemed really with it, like that he understood the need for the need to be careful in dealing with the Whispers, that you couldn't just go off half-cocked. So I was anticipating in reading issue 147 here that he was gonna have some really good plan. But we soon find out that his rage and anger over Rosita and her child was just, it's too much for him to be reasonable about this. And that's completely understandable. I mean, they have lost a great deal here, so no one can blame him for his anger. But thankfully, Rick and Andrea do not agree with his plan whatsoever, and Andrea decides to protect Lydia. After they leave, we see Michonne sneak into Rick's house. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought for a moment that Michonne was going Eugene on Rick and was going to take Lydia to inevitably get revenge over Ezekiel and everyone else who died. I had a moment there when I saw her sneaking into Rick's house where I was like, Michonne, what are you doing? And I thought for sure that Michonne would not do something like that, even in her anger, even in the worst time in her life. I never thought she would use a child to get revenge. And so thankfully that did not happen. But instead, Rick and Michonne have this very beautiful conversation about, you know, it starts out with, she tries to leave, you know, he asks her how she is and she tries to leave. She's always been closed off. She doesn't want to talk about it. She deals with her emotions inwardly. She doesn't share them. She's very strong and she just doesn't really show or talk about how she's feeling. And Rick convinces her to stay, and he tells her, you know, about everything that he's been through and about Lori and Andrea, and we really get a look into how deep his relationship with Andrea really is and how much it really means to him. Now, all this time in reading the comics since Andrea and him got together, we know that they love each other, but a lot of it has been about action, and we see that they have this relationship, but we don't really, you know, we know they're close, we know they love each other, but they don't really go into just how meaningful their relationship is. And Rick discloses that he's closer to Andrea than he ever was with Lori, and he also discloses just how awful that makes him feel. As happy as he is, to think that he had to lose his wife and child in order to become that happy is something that he deals with all of the time. But in telling the story to Michonne, we see Michonne really break down, and she's really crying, and it is just some of the saddest pictures I've seen in a comic in a while. You know, we see the gore and the death, and that's really sad, but to see a character that we love really open up, for both of these characters, really open up and tell us their true feelings and tell us how they're really feeling. And I'm hoping that now that Michonne has heard this, it helps her. I'm really hoping that it helps her, and that eventually we see her get some kind of happiness and be able to keep it. So back to Andrea, Lydia, and Carl. Now they're on their way to the hilltop. They're moving at night. They are worried Andrea and Rick are worried that the townsfolk are going to, you know, go against what Rick thinks, and they're going to try and use Lydia to get back at the Whisperers, to get back at Alpha. And Eugene has been spreading this around, so we hear from Michonne trying to recruit other people who believe the same thing that he does, that they should use Lydia somehow, threaten, torture, even kill Lydia to get what they want, which is revenge against Alpha for what she did. Again, completely understandable that they want they want revenge, but this emotions are flying wild here. So we have Andrea taking Lydia and Carl away at night, and Lydia becomes very suspicious of Andrea's motives, of what's really happening, because all she's heard this entire time is that their community protects each other, that this is going to be a safe place for her. Come with us, we will protect you, we'll get you away from the bad things that are happening to you. And then all of a sudden she's hearing, well, our people want to kill you now, our people want to hurt you, to send you back to your mother. And part of me was like wondering, well, why doesn't she get it? Does she not get that her former people just murdered a bunch of this community's people, and that's why our community is upset? And then I realized she is only, what, 15? She's very young still, and she grew up in a mindset where this death was very common, and they commonly killed people who came into their camp. So she is not able to see it from our people's perspective as well. So she becomes very suspicious, and she pulls a gun on Andrea, and boy, does this comic know how to leave us hanging, because we're left hanging wondering what's going to happen. Lydia is demanding the truth from Andrea because she's convinced that Andrea is taking her back to her mom. Obviously she doesn't want to go back there, and we're left hanging wondering what the hell is going to happen in issue 148. Now the cover for issue 148 is who we believe to be Alpha. She's wearing her Whisperer's bodysuit and she's crying. Now Alpha seems like a very strong, you know, couldn't give a shit about anybody attitude, but we did see her get teary over Lydia when she decided to let Rick take Lydia back. She did get upset over it. So it makes me wonder, well, what else could make her cry besides Lydia? Is there something else that could make her cry? And that's why the cover, you know, they're trying to mislead us. Because my expectations after reading this issue 147, I was expecting the next issue to be something about Rick having to deal with the disappearance of Lydia and how all of the people feel about that, because apparently they were getting really amped up, and now that she's gone, they're gonna be really upset. So I thought at least part of the issue would delve into that just a little bit. I think as far as what's going to happen with Lydia pulling a gun on Andrea, I cannot imagine that she would shoot Andrea with Carl right there. I feel like Carl will be able to talk her down, and if he can't talk her down and convince her to go to the hilltop with them, I feel like if she decides to run off, he's probably going to go with her. I'm just worried that he goes with her and then something happens and she gets killed. And the title of 148 is it's not there. It's just no turning back. So, I mean, it feels like you don't really say that unless you're like, at this point, there's no turning back. So I think something happens that just means there's going to, no matter what, be a confrontation with the Whisperers. I mean, we know it's coming anyways, but something happens, and I think something happens to Lydia, to be honest with you, that just enrages Alpha, and she's just, I feel like something really bad is gonna happen. And I don't know if it'll happen in this particular issue, but it's all leading up to this. I mean, we know this, but it's leading up to eventually a huge conflict. Now, the next issue after 148 is the one with Negan standing behind Rick's shoulders, and oh my gosh, I cannot wait for that one. So we have a little bit while to wait, so I won't get into that one yet, but I'm super pumped to see what's gonna happen in the next issue. Let me know what you guys thought about issue 147 in the comments below. We'll talk more about it there. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.